I don't want to steal your thunder. What are we talking about this time?
Well, hold on, because now I'm looking at myself in the video, and I'm still kind of smarting over a comment that was left last time we recorded. The
By
last
whom?
episode. Did you see that?
Me?
Did you see that comment? I don't know who left it, but I was at a party a few days previously, and I had said, I'm looking old and tired. I feel like my eye bags make me look like Jeffrey Epstein. I was being
Oh my,
self-deprecating. Luckily, everyone there was like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about?" And I was like, "You're right. You're right." I don't even know what I was being self-deprecating. And then we recorded an episode, we posted it, and one of the comments was, "Looks like Epstein has a podcast."
my God. I forgot about that. And I'm not going to say that it didn't have an impact. And I thought, like, oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of that or noticed that before, but now I can't shake it. But I did forget it. So you got that going for you.
The poster could have been talking about you.
Could have been, but they weren't.
Let's get into it. This is Dan I Blow Your Mind, this time the podcast where my co-host and I, Lex, take turns picking movies that we think are going to blow the other's mind. There's no prerequisite. This could be an esoteric pick, could be something mainstream. The only rule is that the other person should not have seen the movie. So hopefully you were truthful about not having seen this movie. Now we're doing something really different today. Really different. Because we're doing Martin Scorsese's life lessons. For those of you who are like, life lessons, I don't even know this movie. Well, it's part of an omnibus film, the New York trilogy. Had you seen any of the New York? Let me ask you this: did you watch the whole New York trilogy?
I
That
didn't.
wasn't the
And that was
assignment.
actually going to be my first confession. And I was glad to be off the hook on that because as soon as what was the next one, the Coppola movie or the Woody Allen movie? Either way, I didn't
I
really
believe
want to
the
sit through a Woody Allen short. I'm sorry.
I believe the Coppola one is next, and the Woody Allen one is last.
Okay.
I remember renting this from the video store as a kid, very excited. Three masters of the craft. Scorsese directed a masterpiece. Coppola's is not good, and Woody Allen's is kind of like a one joke affair.
Well, that's what I
And
had heard, and I
that's
didn't really want to.
that's the kind of the common bead
Yeah.
on the New York trilogy. That's not really me editorializing much. I think that was kind of the standard thing. Now, it was originally going to be Scorsese, Coppola, Woody Allen, and Spielberg.
Oh. Do you know what that would have been? The Spielberg story, or was it not
I don't
yet
know. I
explored?
don't know. I don't know why Spielberg dropped out. Maybe he didn't feel like he was New York enough.
Fair.
Maybe they need. I don't know why Scorsese wouldn't have been picked. It just seems like he's the natural pick. But maybe they
Yeah.
were like, oh, we got two Italians. We need Spielberg. Whatever it
Right.
was. This was from a period where, as we've talked about on a previous podcast, there was some horse trading going on with
Yeah.
with Scorsese and Spielberg. So they did the whole Cape Fear Schindler's List switcheroo, as it's known in
Right.
Hollywood circles. You can listen to that episode. I'm not going to get into all that.
I will admit that for a few minutes during life lessons, I did think that I had seen it before, but I have decided I definitely didn't. But there were parts that there are parts that felt familiar, and I think it's because of Scorsese had a look and feel during this period that feels to me distinct from his other eras. The 80s into the 90s with Cape Fear and then Goodfellas um, has a lot of he has a neat bag of tricks, and they're on full display in these 80s and early 90s movies, and I think that that's probably what I was responding to.
This was an interesting mid-career period of Scorsese. And why don't we set the table by saying, I'll set the table. You stay away. I'll set the table by saying
I'm
how
just
this
gonna
came
flip
about.
it.
Is I watched is it Rebecca Miller? I watched the
uh,
Rebecca Miller 5-part Scorsese doc series on Apple, which I really enjoyed. And when I came to the end, I was like, hold on a second. Are we missing a seminal, a staple of the Scorsese oeuvre? And that is life lessons. So I didn't really do a deep dive. I did a little Googling just to see why that was. I couldn't really find anything. But I thought, you know what? Even though we're bending the rules here, this is not a feature film. What a great opportunity to talk about it here and now. Did you watch the 5-part Mr. Scorsese doc series, and why do you think they left it out? Then I'll give you my theories.
Well, first, let me be clear that it seemed as though this felt like a bait and switch, because it seemed as though you were giving me a 50-minute movie to watch, and then you were like, and then we'll talk about the Scorsese documentary series, which is a 5+ hour watch. So really, you assigned me 6 hours of Scorsese to watch, and that's fine. But I did watch it. Yes, yes.
You were going to watch it anyway.
I wasn't rushing to watch it, and I will say, on the whole, it kind of, a lot of these bio docs in the recent, like, past 2 years have all kind of felt the same, which is that they're enjoyable, but they're not really mind blowing. So it was fun to go through the eras of Scorsese, but I felt like it was some of the same kind of notes about the man hit over and over and over again. But I would say that the 80s is my favorite Scorsese era, which may just blow your mind.
Interesting. Well, the box office doesn't agree. Not particularly. No. What blows my mind is that you weren't rushing to your couch to watch this series. And yes,
I did
agree.
For the Billy Joel doc series. I rushed.
Well, so did I. So did I. And here's another short but huge in stature New Yorker that I felt like I really learned a lot of great things about watching this. I devoured it.
Yeah. So give me what? Why are you shaking your head?
I don't know. I thought you'd be more excited about the 5-parter. Let me tell you a few things that I really loved about it. Let me tell you the thing I loved about it.
Get me off my high horse and get me excited about what I watched. I'm ready.
Well, I'll also tell you a couple things I maybe didn't respond to as much. I thought the most interesting part for me, I think it's because I occasionally see Scorsese in interviews, most notably in the wake of The Wolf of Wall Street, where people ask him about glamorizing his unsavory characters. And in that case, reporters were asking about Jordan Belfort, but they could have easily asked the same questions, and probably did at the time, about Jake LaMotta and Travis Bickle. And Scorsese has this company line about how he's just there. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing all this. He's just there to record the bad behavior. He's just there to take it all in, to not shy away, to get it down on film. He's not there to judge his characters. And I love that, but I also guess I always thought maybe it's just a little 10% bullshit, especially with these characters that are so badly behaved that it's really entertaining.
Yes.
It kind of feels like a highfalutin, artsy answer. But in this documentary, I think in episode 1, when they're talking about his first full-length feature, Who's That Knocking at Your Door, which started as a series of shorts. You're looking like I'm making this up. Did I just?
No, I always something about the phrasing of the title always has me conflate it with Alice Doesn't Live Here anymore, and I was just making sure I was thinking of the right movie as you were saying it.
Well, sometimes masters love a title that's a question. Who's that knocking at your door? Who invited them? And you knew I was going there. Is it just Who's That Knocking? No, it's Who's That Knocking at Your Door, right?
That sounds right.
Anyway.
No quibble.
So it ended up being 3 shorts that, as an NYU project, and then I believe cobbled together, and then with added footage and made into a feature that played the Chicago International Film Fest and got some great raves. But then I don't think there was a buyer for it. I think he ended up selling it maybe to a distributor in Amsterdam. Had to shoot a nude scene. Anyway, it wasn't the hit that he was thinking, and it would be. And one of the reasons why that they talk about and make a meal about in the documentary series is that it is a story that has some very uncompromising, ugly behavior from the Harvey Keitel character, who is a old school Italian American guy who, when his girlfriend talks about her rape at the hands of an ex-boyfriend, he is not only not sympathetic, but no longer can marry her. And it's harsh. It's ugly to watch. I believe he ends up coming back to her at the end, but then it's still not going to work out because she knows he can never accept her for who she is. And at the time, according to the doc, everyone was like, "Whoa, you need to change this, rewrite this, tweak this. The Harvey Keitel character is too unsympathetic." And it wasn't just the opinion of people who wanted this film to be commercial. It was also the opinion of his movie brat, cool guy buddies like De Palma and whoever else he showed the film to. The cool counterculture kids were also like, this feels really dusty. Why are you making a movie in the midst of the peace, love, and sex generation that's so dusty and about these outdated morals and about this Italian American guy who's like a Neanderthal? So he was getting pushed from both sides. Nobody was feeling his movie, and he stuck to his guns and decided, this is what the movie is, because these are the people that I grew up with, and that's the story I want to tell, and I'm not going to compromise it because it wouldn't be truthful. He's not making a documentary here. He can do whatever he wants, but it's not going to be truthful to him. So he really put his money where his mouth is for that movie. And I don't know if that makes it a better movie or worse movie, but it shows his artistic bona fides in a way I didn't understand before and now get it. Particularly when I watched the tougher scenes in Raging Bull or Wolf of Wall Street. So that was the big takeaway for me. That comes early on. And then the rest of it I just really enjoyed. There were some things I wouldn't have minded seeing more of. They make a lot about his Catholicism, but never really get into... They get into how many marriages he had, but they never really ask about it. I don't know. Did he have to go to church and get that signed off on?
Yeah, right. There was some,
and then, of course, the life lessons of it all was missing from the film too. But obviously, it can only be so many hours. I could have gone for 10 hours of Scorsese. I don't think they gave a lot of screen time to Hugo either, but I was okay with that.
Well, yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that. What I enjoyed about this series was discovering, like, in my film watching history, a Scorsese movie showing up always feels as though it's delivered with assurance, as if, like, the man knows what he's doing all the time, always. And if you don't like his movie this go round, well, this one just wasn't for you, but it was still delivered with authority and assurance. And what I felt like I saw through the different eras was some of the insecurity around his choices and him taking jobs to work, not always necessarily to express a vision that was entirely his, but rather to receive material and think, okay, I either need to do this now because I need to work, meaning my artistic brain needs to work, not I need the money, but although sometimes it was for the money. But that informed a handful of his movies for me, and also made me feel as though I could rewatch them through a new lens and enjoy them in a new way, knowing that in the end, he's just a guy. He's an artist, and he's trying to express his art, and sometimes it's not the vehicle of his choice that he's operating within, but he's finding something that he's really passionate within it. And it like I said, I like the '80s movies. It was interesting to me that to know that King of Comedy was something he wasn't really feeling at the time. Color of Money,
Also very
yeah,
surprised about that.
right,
Brought to him by De Niro.
yeah,
I figured that was something where he was like, I want to take a big swing in a different direction, and he did, but wasn't as passionate about it, at least on set at the time, as I would have thought.
right, right. And After Hours, which kind of gives him a second shot or third shot. I wasn't keeping count at that point. In the '80s, it redeems him after. It's not Last Temptation. It's after
I
Raging
believe
Bull.
after King of Comedy.
Right. It redeems him, gives him. It's a true indie and makes money and scores. And I really feel like he is looser than he has ever previously been, and so he pulls some of the moves that he's really going to really flex across the '80s with Color of Money, that action oriented shot, and style, that fast push in. I feel like is really developed during After Hours, shows up in Life Lessons, and then is perfected in Goodfellas. Uh, but this loose era that may not be, speak to his Italian American heritage and history, like Mean Streets and Taxi Driver and those '70s and Raging Bull and those '70s movies, creates a looseness, that I think is fun to watch and is what I enjoy about these '80s movies, and what I saw on display in Life Lessons too, which is what endeared me to parts of it. Not tipping my
Interesting.
hand.
Yes,
But yeah.
the '80s were a really interesting time. It's like he's doing a lot of different things. And it's before he becomes anointed as this cultural icon. Obviously, huge in the '70s, but then he's like this elder. Once Goodfellas comes out, he's like this elder statesman
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
And I love After Hours. That's one of my favorites. I love that '80s downtown hip Soho, New York world.
Love it.
So I'm tickled pink that we're
Yeah.
going to return to it
Yeah.
in Life Lessons.
It does feel like a companion piece for that movie to me too.
And it's so hit. I mean, compared to the two, mothball movies that Coppola and Woody put forth in the trilogy, which I guess was inspired by certain Italian trilogy films that were popular in the
Okay.
early '70s. It just pops so much even more. So again, I'm not sure, because a lot of attention was paid to some of his shorts, like The Big Shave and his docu shorts that he did about his family and the character actor who's in Taxi Driver. I'm not sure why Life Lessons wasn't included. Maybe it seemed like too much of a meal to get into it, and then you'd have to get into the Woody and the Francis of it, and it's probably definitely not either of their favorite works, and maybe then you would have to interview them. I'm not sure.
But
Might
they
have been a lot of
also,
setup.
uh I felt like that we got kind of the Cliff's Notes uh takes on the movies, these '80s movies that we discussed, and even Cape Fear is just kind of like, yeah, and then we did that, and that was kind of fun, and we move on to. It seems like the late 2000s, the Wolf of Wall Street really becomes a centerpiece, and obviously the '70s is a real centerpiece for this thing, and then we kind of cruise through the '80s and '90s there, which I was, I would love to dig in on those movies because, like I said, I really enjoy them.
It's just amazing that this guy, arguably the greatest American director, almost his whole career, he's like beating the bushes for money. The
I know.
ups and the downs. It's just madness. If he didn't have Leo, if he hadn't hooked up with Leo, I mean, who knows? We wouldn't have
It's true.
this last 20 years of movies, or who knows what we would have.
It is also interesting to really see the through line of De Niro as a driving force for Scorsese's creativity post Taxi Driver, from New York, New York, which I also haven't seen, to De Niro essentially crafting or being partially responsible for crafting love for Scorsese and creating, basically bridging that relationship there. And then, yeah, like you said, defined Scorsese for the last 25 years, pretty much. I mean, the tentpole, the Scorsese movies that you think of the last 25 years.
Yeah. The one other thing I could have gone for in this movie is they talk about his temper.
Yeah.
And they get into the coke use, and I think I just read on Deadline that somebody is developing a story about he and Robbie Robertson. I
Oh,
can't wait to see that. Who's
yeah.
the
That was
Robbie
great.
Robertson of you and I? Yeah, I mean, he was just so out of control, working so hard. I mean, when he was like shooting the last waltz, like after hours when he was doing New York, New York. But I wanted to see it,
Well,
and it's
also
got to
that
be.
assistant. There's a third musketeer in there. That guy seemed like a real piece of work. Do you remember that guy?
I'm
That he
forgetting that guy.
So I guess that's one of the docs that he made was about his sort of coked up
Oh,
assistant who
Steve
was,
Steve Prince, who was in
yeah.
Taxi Driver. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. I didn't realize he was an actor too.
He's
Um,
the gun salesman in Taxi Driver,
he is. Oh
and he's
wow.
amazing.
Okay. Have you seen that movie or the short or
I
whatever
haven't
it
seen
is?
that movie. I had heard that Tarantino lifted the anecdote about the heroin
Yeah,
overdose for the
from him.
basis of that
Right.
scene in Pulp Fiction, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. Capturing that moment in time, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I love that I mean, so creative. He's doing big movies, but also then taking time off to do a documentary on his mom and his dad, a little mini doc.
Yeah.
Really
And the
interesting.
combination of like Steve seems like a total weirdo. Scorsese's like hot under the collar, self-loathing artist, and Robbie Robertson is like the ultimate raconteur who's just high and loving it. Like what a
It
combo.
seems like Robbie Robertson wanted to be a movie star for a while. It was that
Totally.
part of it. Was it symbiotic? But then they never really did much together. And Robbie Robertson is great in Carney. I mean, he seems like a movie
Yeah.
star.
Um I've never seen him act that I can recall. I what's his face?
Oh, have you seen Carney?
No.
Oh, he's great in Carney. I mean, he is as smooth as silk. He's in The Crossing Guard too, the Sean Penn
Really?
movie.
I
He's very good.
barely remember that. Who's the other guy in the band that acts? Levon Helm. I've seen him
Right.
and stuff.
Also very good.
Yeah.
I
Time.
could have gone for a little footage. There's got to be some of Scorsese losing his shit.
Yeah,
Just
we didn't really see it, right? It's not really in there.
no, you hear about it.
Yeah.
You hear about it, but we just get older Scorsese doing TikToks with his daughter, and I was like, oh, okay, I want to balance this out with a little bit of the Mad Men high out of his mind.
Yeah, but the current like head of office basically says he had a temper up until like 2013 or so. Like
Right.
he'd only recently just kind of cooled his jets a little bit, which is amazing.
Yes. So I could have gone for a little bit of that. Well, I'm sorry that I inflicted an amazing 5-hour documentary. I'm sorry that I gave you 5 hours of pleasure.
It's okay. I was it was perfectly timed. I was recovering from a colonoscopy, so I just kind of sat my butt on the couch and just hit play and
A colonoscopy at 35? Oh my goodness.
we're
Goodness. God, this is like the biggest old man podcast ever. I've got Jeffrey Epstein
gonna
eye
cut that
bags.
part
I'm having
out.
a colonoscopy.
We're cutting that part out.
Well, let's get into the main meat
Let's
here.
talk about
So
it.
I've set the table. That's why I wanted to watch Life Lessons. I've seen it a couple times. It's not. I don't believe it's streaming. I had to get the DVD. I'll give Vidiots a little plug. I don't get anything out of this. I'm not
Sorry,
making any
it
money.
is streaming. I watched it.
Where's it streaming? Oh, Canopy, Criterion.
Maybe, but I got it on Apple. I rented the movie for $4.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
just making sure that people are able to watch it.
I was hoping there was going to be like a little featurette or something, but I didn't find that. Anyway, is this coming off Color of Money, or is Color Money right after? This is coming off
No,
Color of Money.
I think it's Color Money right before this.
Okay. Because he'd also worked with the great Richard Price on Color of Money. Richard Price, the amazing
That's
novelist,
right.
everything from Ladies' Night to Lush Life to, I think most famously, Clockers,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe Scorsese was going to direct and
Spike took it.
and recommended a Spike might be more of a good fit.
Good movie.
But yeah, Richard Price also, I believe he's written a lot of episodes of The Wire, just a real New York legend. And this is a loose, very loose, even though I haven't read the story. Every time I read the synopsis, I was like, this seems very loose because I don't see how it matches up, but a loose adaptation of the Dostoevsky story, The Gambler.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I was wondering what and if you have insights about this that you want to talk about later,
Always.
we can totally push it. But I was interested to know what movies might have influenced this story, because there were themes and there were certain elements within it that made me think of a different era. Do you know anything? Did you find anything in the research about his influences when making this, aside from the original text of The Gambler?
I love when you put me on the spot like this.
I'm
No.
wondering.
Although
I'm not looking for an answer. I have my theories.
Okay, all right. Well, I can't wait to hear your theories. The brilliant Nestor Almendros is shooting this. I love those split diopter shots. There's some mirror shots that I was on, like the on Reddit threads.
Highly
People are
technical.
still trying to think about how he was doing certain mirror shots where the eye
Like
lines
what?
feel like they wouldn't be able to match up. They're at the Nolte and Rosanna Arquette are at the party mid movie, and he grabs her and he brings her into the little
Bathroom.
room, and there's a mirror there, and they're having a conversation almost like in the mirror. And I was like, how are
Okay.
they shooting this?
Okay. Huh. I didn't notice. I was so sucked into the story.
Apparently not. All right. Well, let's talk about Nolte. Now, we've talked about Cape Fear on this podcast. I think our highest rated episode, and this is their other big collaboration. Nolte says that the reason they didn't work together a third time or any more times is because when Scorsese, and I remember watching this, Scorsese and De Niro gave Elia Kazan a Lifetime Achievement or maybe just a special award at the Academy Awards. Nolte and his girlfriend, who is an actress whose name I'm spacing, crossed their arms. They did not clap. Some of the crowd stood up and applauded. Some clapped. Some stayed sitting, crossed their arms in protest because of Kazan's role in the blacklist. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to get into it. That's a whole other episode. But I thought that was interesting. I thought that was really interesting.
That's when it soured
I
is after Cape
that's
Fear
when it soured.
during the Oscars. Interesting.
Marty didn't say anything, but that's
Nick's
what Nick
very
says.
unpredictable.
I do remember he was kind of the most prominent person to not clap. Because Scorsese and De Niro were putting themselves out there being like, okay, controversial figure, but
It's
I mean,
time
come
to
on.
close the
On the
door on it.
waterfront,
Yeah, yeah,
let's, yeah.
right. I kind of remember that.
But but Nick holds a grudge.
He
Nick
sure
holds a
does.
grudge.
Uh, I'll tell you what about Nick. The 80s was incredible for him. I mean, what a hot streak coming into New York Stories. And then obviously Cape Fear is not long after it. But we're talking about 48 Hours, Under Fire, Grace Quigley, possibly the first movie I ever saw Nick Nolte in. Down
Him
and
and
Out in
Katharine
Beverly
Hepburn.
Hills. Yeah. Extreme Prejudice, Three Fugitives, Farewell to the King, and then New York Stories. I mean, those Nolte it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Don't forget his Sexiest Man Alive.
Oh, was that in the 80s?
I think that was 92.
Oh, okay. Right. Because that was Prince of Tides, probably. Like that wasn't even, I mean, he was still soaring after New York Stories.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
had great things to do in the 90s.
I feel like things started to go off the rails with that Julia Roberts movie where you heard they didn't get along. I think she said he kind of smelled a little bit.
I think I remember that.
All of a sudden, the wheels kind
I
of
Love
came off
Trouble.
as him as a
94.
romantic leading man.
But that's after Blue Chips, Lorenzo's Oil, The Player, Prince of Tides. I mean, another 48 Hours. Q&A? Jesus. Nolte, baby.
Q&A that's some underrated Lumet right there. Well, obviously, you don't have to sell me, and I don't have to sell you.
That's
this
right.
may as well be
That's right.
called
We're
the
just...
Nick Nolte Appreciation Podcast. We both love him. This might be, maybe along with Affliction, Nick's most growly movie. Like he is just a big bear in this, and I love
He's
it.
wonderful. He's great. He has a line that floored me, which was, "You're with the lion, baby."
A great line.
Great
There's
line.
so many. This is a great script by Richard Price. There are so many. Even before that, I love when he picks Rosanna Arquette up from the airport and she says, What are you doing here? I left you a message. Didn't you listen to your machine? And he says something like, Listen to my machine, listen to my machine, listen to you. What are we doing here?
I love that the setup for that is that he's telling his gallery owner or manager or whatever, he's like, I gotta pick up my assistant at the airport. Like it's a real hassle. What a soft pitch for getting into the obsession that we see later with the pacing and the coming in and out of her room and the basketball playing is just, he's such a pest in this, and he is lovable, hateable, all the things, obsessive. He's a joy to watch in this movie. And it feels complete as a character. I know who this painter is. He's a genius and he's a nightmare all at once. It's terrific. And you know what, one of the first things that I noticed about this movie is that once again, you have me watching a shirtless man painting on giant canvases. There's something, Duncan, something
What
that
was the
you
other
love,
time?
The Devil's Candy.
Oh, but Nick Nolte isn't shirtless in this movie, is he?
Yes, he is.
No, I didn't. I'm picturing him in like a dirty dress shirt.
It's a subtle theme that you have. I can't wait for the next one.
Well, I love a midlife crisis movie.
And
this certainly falls into that category. Just to give everybody the log line that isn't familiar with this picture, Nick Nolte plays Lionel Doby, and he is a very successful artist with an amazing loft in Soho. You don't get those anymore. And he does these big, beautiful paintings that are a little Pollocky. I believe the real artist's name is Chuck Connolly. And we're in the hip, fast-moving, super sexy, bohemian meets commerce world of Soho in the 80s. And when the film starts, he's got a big art show and he's artistically blocked. And as Lex said, he's going to pick up his assistant who doesn't want him being picked up. This is Rosanna Arquette. They've had a romantic relationship. She took off with a guy. Now she's back in New York. She doesn't want anything to do with him. And he is telling her, baby, just come back to my place, resume your position as my assistant, but you don't have to do anything. I'm here for you. You're too talented to go back to your podunk town in the Midwest. This is him talking. I want to help you out. It doesn't have to be romantic. I'll be your ally. I mean, this guy, he's like an ally incel art monster before any of those terms were totally popularized. Like he puts himself into this psychosexual nightmare of having his drop dead gorgeous ex slash assistant now living in tight quarters in his loft, but she is no longer interested in sleeping with him. Lex, how gorgeous was and is Rosanna Arquette, but particularly in this film. I don't think the kids out there really understand when you talk about Rosanna Arquette how hip she was in the 80s. She was already in After Hours, the other hip Scorsese Soho movie, but she's in Desperately Seeking Susan. I mean, she was like a fashion icon. She was just everywhere.
Yep, she's that. I'll reference another film, that obscure object of desire for many an independent film, but a wonderful actor and hilarious and quirky and really exudes New York in the 80s, artistic, funky vibes.
Yeah, yeah. And she's amazing in this. She's fantastic. It's like describing Mickey Rourke to someone who wasn't around then. It's like hard to It's hard to paint the picture of just how cool they were.
And I think it's that these people, and she's one of them, they're more than actors. They're a part of a scene, right? They contribute. I mean, really, it's kind of what she is in this movie, which is she's a muse. And this is the story of what it's like to be a muse. It's the story of how art can happen because of a muse, how this artist basically requires emotional fuel to create on the level that he's creating. And so this is what I was getting to before, where I was wondering what the visual and story references for Scorsese might have been, which is that it feels very romantic. It feels like Wuthering Heights, or some of the high melodrama stories on film from the 30s and 40s about a monstrous man or a monster and the beautiful maiden. It feels very classical, and yet it's set in this, at the time, extremely contemporary, extremely sort of modern, outside the norms of American life. And it's a cool framing of what appears to be just a very old story.
Yeah, the Richard Price dialogue couldn't be more contemporary, but there is something about it that feels so classic. I'm imagining that's the architecture of the Dostoevsky story that the characters are built on.
That the loft setup where he's able to stare up at an open window where the light is, I love that. I love that rather than on the moors staring up at the window of a castle, he's in a loft and he's staring up at the framed bedroom of this giant warehouse space. It reminds me, as I was really watching this and really feeling like, especially with After Hours, but with this too, that Scorsese can bring to life the feeling of what it was like and what it is like to be an artist in New York, and how normal all of this behavior is, but seems outside of what the American norm is, which is why he's talking about like going back to the Midwest and all of that. But he captures it like no one else. And, that I'm referencing my days of living in a Brooklyn box factory, Duncan.
I knew we were going to get to your like artsy Brooklyn days. I didn't even know you had them, but I was like, if he doesn't, he'll just make it up.
No. It was very authentic.
What hood?
A Greenpoint. We're right around the corner from Brooklyn Brewery. Another thing, there's a lot of amazing actors that pop up in this. Buscemi's one of them. He does a found spaces theater performance. kind of reminds me of when I did Macbeth in a small, dirty bathroom, pulled the audience into the living space to really get them close on out damn spot. So all of this very familiar to me.
It really brought you back to your days in Brooklyn, the Vice parties, the Edward 40 hands.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love to hear it. Yeah. Steve Buscemi looks like a silent movie star in this movie.
He
He
looks
plays
great.
the guy who dumped, that Rosanna Arquette is chasing after, and he's this super hip performance artist. Nick Nolte his character doesn't even know what that means. You're either an artist or you're an actor. What the hell is a performance artist? I love the scene where they go to a show together. Nick Nolte convinces Rosanna Arquette that it's better to have him, her ex, because he's got some cachet as an artist, on her arm. And then he pushes her to go say hello to the Steve Buscemi character, knowing she's going to get rebuffed. So he's both, he's like cucking himself,
Yeah,
and he's
it's so fucked up.
groveling, but at the same time he's also playing chess and trying to manipulate her. But this Steve Buscemi is so great. He's like under one lit light bulb on these railroad tracks doing this anti-comedy thing. I could have watched a whole show. If there was a DVD of this, I'd be like, please have the Steve Buscemi performance artist, like one-man show go on. I mean, it's the kind of thing you could see Fred Armisen parodying, and they play it straight here, and it's just amazing. But talk about cameos, and then did you clock who his wingman is? Who Steve Buscemi's wingman is when he's at the bar?
I remember it was someone, but I can't recall.
Peter Gabriel.
What?
Peter Gabriel appears twice as his buddy.
I saw Debbie Harry and I saw Ileana Douglas. She's hard to miss, but Debbie Harry was like literally had no lines.
And I also was told Willem Dafoe was in it, but I didn't clock him.
Huh. Okay.
But Peter Gabriel's in. Somebody introduces him to Steve Buscemi's character. He's like, "Oh, do you know Peter?" And it's very subtle. I mean, come on. If you've got Peter Gabriel in your short film and you barely even acknowledge it, what's hipper than that?
No, nothing.
What's hipper than that?
Nothing. I love, by the way, that scene when Nolte attacks Buscemi in the diner and like throws him up and they break the glass. That feels so clearly.
So Three Fugitives.
On purpose. Hey, listen, I'll talk Three Fugitives all day. But that moment felt so real, and I'm sure that was not intentional, but it just shows to how
you think he just threw Steve Buscemi into the glass, and that wasn't part of this?
Okay. I think it was an accident, and I think that Nolte plays rough.
I love your suspension of disbelief. Okay. Wow. I mean, is there a movie where Nolte doesn't grab someone like a rag doll and like throw them across the room? I'm thinking my favorite Nolte grabs someone moment is Affliction. He grabs some guy in a diner and like throws him up on top of the counter.
I know you love Affliction, but I have to say I don't think I made it all the way through it, and I think it just didn't snag me, and maybe I need to give it a second go. But I really you talk about it a lot, and I don't know like what's great about it. It seemed super depressing.
It's depressing as hell. It's Nolte, probably his best performance. He's a little old for the role. But it's his best performance. I mean, he like I said, if you love growly Nolte, I mean, he is at his graveliest, like I got up in the morning and gargled with whiskey and rocks. I think he even says to James Coburn, like, what am I, some whoop dog? Like, he's just amazing in it.
I forgot Coburn was in it.
It's a great Paul Schrader movie. It's an adaptation of a Russell Banks book that I like a lot, that very much lines up with the Schrader obsessions. I think he's a small town sheriff who thinks there's a murder, but then the murder doesn't even make sense. It's really just him chasing
nothing but regret.
Nothing but regret, and whatever his, I don't know, maybe his Calvinist upbringing. William Dafoe is in, and he's narrating it. Let's stop the podcast, and you need to go watch Affliction right
All
now.
right. Um,
My head's spinning. I don't even know how to get back into this thing. Anyway, so the bulk of the movie is Nolte and Rosanna Arquette playing this three-dimensional chess as she is hanging in New York and he wants to get back together, but he can't say that because he's really just hanging on by the fingernails, trying to keep her around. And
yeah.
the only thing she wants from him is validation about her work. And what's the one thing, the only thing, as much as he loves her, that he won't give her? Validation about her work, because that would be a betrayal of his art.
Yeah. It's good. It's
He
good.
also needs to keep her around at his as his muse. There's like a ticking clock where he's got to finish his work before the art show.
Okay.
So he needs her on a couple different levels, and I think you're left wondering how much does he love her, how much does he need her as a muse, and how much is she just like filling the hole in his egotistical lifestyle. I think the reason his character's palatable in this and you feel for him is because you're not getting like the A side of it. You're not seeing the Nolte as the abusive boss, probably putting her through the ringer that precedes her trip that the
Yeah.
short starts with. You're getting it on the B side
You're getting him
where
strung out.
she's the one holding the cards, even though he still has some moves to play.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that it works that way. Although I could watch that too. Just how fucked up he is as a human being is Nolte playing it is sort of infinitely watchable. Although, so my big question about this story, and I'm wondering if you can answer it, is tell me what the discovery is when he calls her, when he talks about chippies, when he talks about basically what all women do is like they occupy your time, they get you all spun up. You know what I'm talking about? When he's painting, she's left, and
Yeah,
it's right
yeah.
before the final scene where it's the gallery opening. And then, his face, there's discovery that happens in his face, and I gotta say, I didn't really quite understand what was happening there. I kind of do, but I kind of don't, and I was wondering if you did.
At this point in the film, they've gone through the dance. She's brought home another guy,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
hot the hot fiery
That guy I've
artist,
seen
and
around. He's a that guy.
he's I believe he's from maybe from the TV show Fame.
Okay.
Um, they're up in the loft, which he can hear them, doing God knows what. I love the
Is that what
scene
you
when the
call it?
hot artist comes down and he makes coffee, and you think Nick Nolte is just so whooped, like
Yeah.
what a cuck, what
Yeah.
embarrassment. But then to get the upper hand, Nick Nolte disparages his art. What are you, some kind of like graffiti artist? And Nick Nolte starts painting, and the
Mhm.
younger artist looks at him, and Nick Nolte looks back with that smile, and it's like, sure, you just slept with my girl,
Yeah.
but can you do
Yeah.
what I do as he
Right.
paints?
Right.
Anyways, we've been through all that. She's dared him to kiss the cop. I love that scene. I'm just
Oh
reliving the
yeah,
whole
that was
movie.
great.
I don't know why, because that's
I
not what we
love
do
the
here.
kiss the
But
cop scene was fantastic.
she dares him to do something, and you see how much he really puts it on the line for her. But Lex is referring to, yes, her brother, who I believe is in the Marines, comes to pick her up. She's leaving. He can't say that she's a great artist. He can't make himself say she has a future in art. And then as she's leaving, he has this kind of muttered dialogue to himself and then puts his hand over his face aghast. I thought that was his realization that he does well. I've thought two things. I was wondering, was it his realization, oh, I need her as a muse and now she's gone and I'm so screwed? Or was it, this heartbreak is what I need to finish my paintings? Maybe it's I kind of sided with that because then he does finish and has the art show. So he's realizing he needs the pain, he needs the heartbreak, he needs the degradation to finish his work.
Yeah, I that's kind of how I took it, is that for the first time he could actually articulate and understand what has previously been subconscious. And so he basically understands that there's a formula to how he creates, and she brings this pattern to life for him. That's what kind of what the story is. And then at the end, it's the gallery opening. She's not there, and a new girl comes along, and he very, very, sort of reptilian way, basically says, I need an assistant, and I pay this much, and it's an invaluable service for somebody like you who's an up and coming artist to have my wisdom. But it's laid out so coldly. Like, we've seen him be so emotional and so chaotic, and this is a side of him that we haven't seen, which is very methodical. And there's a version where I think that he's arced and now understands himself better, and now is in full operator mode where he just now has a pattern of doing this going forward. Or is that exactly the kind of thing he said to Rosanna Arquette, or was that like more
Bingo.
passion?
There you
Yeah.
go. Let's go with that. That's the one I'm going to give the awesome job check plus to. For me, this is the cycle repeating itself. Now we are seeing a little bit of the A side as Nolte, sets the trap for a protege to come into his life, for him to vampirically use them as a muse, and well, not discard them, because in Rosanna Arquette's case, she discards him, and that's why I think he feeds on that heartbreak too. He's a man of a certain age. He knows they're not going to stick around for long. But I love the end. I love stories where you just feel like, oh, this was a cycle that he's repeating over again. Another great line where he barks at her that he's been married 4 times, and that was before she was even born. Now, Roger Ebert thinks,
Oh,
big surprise, agrees with me, that this is the beginning of the cycle. He thought the movie would have been perfect if it just ended a few lines earlier. He's like, if the moment he makes eye contact with her and
with
says
the
one thing, we get it.
I agree. I would have liked that better, but I didn't
Oh,
dislike.
well, it sounds like you got more information, but you were more ambiguous. I was thinking you were siskling that Roger Ebert viewpoint.
You're talking about the final line, right?
Yeah, that when Nolte approaches her and has a line or two, it goes on just a little too long because we get it. Oh, this
Yeah,
is the
we
new
get it.
assistant.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Sounds like a little backtracking, but okay. So, yeah, I mean that's the movie. That's life lessons, and to circle back to my theories about why maybe why it's not included in Mr. Scorsese. And who knows? I mean, I'm sure they talked about it and just ended up on the cutting room floor, because you can't talk about everything, and there's a lot of setup to this film. But maybe, but it
Yes.
does seem like
There's a
Marty would have
lot of
insisted.
Doc.
He would have insisted if he thought, oh, this is part of my canon, which I think it is. This is part of my canon, and we don't talk about life lessons enough. Let's talk life lessons. So I think maybe this just cut maybe too close to the bone, because here he is,
Interesting.
mid career Marty, back against the wall. Yeah, King of Comedy, not a hit. After Hours, a little bit of a resurgence, and then is it Last Temptation? Okay, I mean he's practically blown up by the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
and Color of Money, I believe did decent, but that's in essence a
It did
sequel.
great.
Did it do
I mean,
great? Okay.
yeah, performance-wise, it did great. And then Paul Newman got, if he didn't win, he got a nomination. So, like,
Yes,
it did
I
well.
know. Yes, a lifetime achievement type nomination. He's great in it, but it's in
He's
essence a
great.
sequel, and I love
It is a great movie.
I love Color of Money.
I'm gonna stand up for that movie till the very end.
There's no standing up for it because I love it. I'm just saying, is Color of Money the movie that little Martin Scorsese was like dying to make his whole life? No, he's still reeling. He's still reeling. In my theory, he's still, sneaking into the bathroom and meeting Robbie Robertson and doing bumps. He's still reeling. It's not till Goodfellas that
Goodfellas. Yeah.
he's the elder statesman. So just go with me there. Anyway, mid-career Marty back up against the wall. He's that guy. What marriage is he in on now? I don't know. I'm assuming Ileana Douglas, he was dating her at the time. So he's got a lot going on. There's a lot of shared DNA with the Nick Nolte, Lionel Dobie character. And I'm wondering, it also lines up with the questions that we just talked about, weren't particularly probed that deep in the
Yeah.
documentary.
Right.
In terms of his divorces and how that relates to the Catholic Church and we're talking about the anger, but we're not seeing some awesome footage of him flipping out. So I wonder if life lessons hit too close to home, and in that way it just makes me love it even more.
I could see that. I could totally see that. Especially if we
He
talk
says
about sort of
diplomatically.
the reasons why he did these movies. We've established this pattern of wanting to work, of coming alive in the work, whereas real life was challenging and frustrating for him. And you're making a short film with two other guys. Why are you doing that? You're doing it because you just got to keep working. You got to keep creating your art, and maybe it's one that he looks at back on and is like, yeah, maybe I showed a little bit too much of myself there at a time when I wasn't feeling great, and yeah, it's still raw. Could be.
Yeah. How many of my past paramours were muses that I either discarded or was discarded by? Who knows? I think
Who
the
knows?
takeaway here is this is Major Marty. Major Marty.
Major Marty.
And
All right. Well, I guess it's time. I'm gonna do
I
some.
guess it is time. Would you have liked Life Lessons to be really the only questions are, should Life Lessons have been a feature, or was it perfect on its own as a short? I mean, that's really all there is to discuss, right? Oh, hold it. Looks like you want to say something.
I've decided that that you're never really content with my answer. So what I'm going to do is
That's
what
not true. That's not
is
true. I am content with your answer. Just sometimes there's a waffling, and I'm like, has he even listened to the podcast that we host? You give a definitive answer one way or
you're
the
going to
other.
hate this.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is show my work as the your elementary school math teacher told you to do. Show your work. I'm going to go through a few things here. Let's take a look at the story. Did the story blow my mind? It's a beautiful setup. It's not heavy-handed. I love the 3 weeks construct. I love that the Muse story is classical and central. It's like it blew my mind that it was a surprisingly slow burn with the madness of being a muse and having a muse. So story, yes, blows my mind. Acting, Nolte was incredible. Blows my mind. However,
Ket was incredible.
I've loved her in many things. This wasn't the thing. I bet you it would have been better if it had been cast differently. Rosanna Arquette. So acting is going to be a no on Blow My Mind because it's balanced out by the art.
Like in a arithmetic class, I am also starting to nod off. Okay.
So acting's a no.
Okay. Cinematography, craft services.
Scene. Were there key scenes that blew my mind? No, it was an overall. It was the story. So that's 2 no's and a yes. I'm sorry, actually. Let me rewind. The acting, Nolte's so good that it overpowers the Rosanna Arquette acting. So that's a yes. That's a yes. Scene, nothing totally blew my mind individually. Music, I don't like Procol Harum. That's a no. But filmmaking,
Do you like the Rolling Stones? Do you like Bob Dylan?
were they in there? All I heard was Whiter Shade of Pale over and over again, and then Conquistador.
Did you watch some garbage bootleg of this that they couldn't find the music rights to fully release it? Yes, the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan are on there. Okay.
Right.
Don't like Procol Harum. All right. I love that song, and it reminds me of the Harry Dean Stanton video, where I also get a little misty-eyed. It's so good.
We're 2 different people with 2 different tastes.
Okay, fine.
Right. Filmmaking on a whole. This is
Don't you have a music podcast?
Filmmaking is ownership of the style that began with After Hours. Totally enjoyable. I'm a sucker for it. Yes, absolutely. So that's 3 elements out of 5 elements that blow my mind. This blows my mind, this movie.
I love the insane amount of shoe leather to get to the surprising. Yes, so I did like the twist there. Nothing like doing a dry mathematical dissection of a beautiful piece of art. All right, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We don't have to rehash
three exploding heads out of 5.
Agree and disagree with. I'm sure we'll have many conversations about the merits of Rosanna Arquette and the kick-ass soundtrack of this in the future. I hope people weigh in on the comments section. Let us know what they think of this film, because I really don't talk about life lessons that
this is an
much.
Interesting one for people to weigh in. I really have not heard anybody talk about life lessons. People reevaluate Color of Money. I've heard them talk about After Hours and King of Comedy, all saying wonderful things because they are great movies. But yeah, who's talking about life lessons? These guys.
Doing the Lord's work.
That's right.
All right, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, this was a pleasure. Whatever my catchphrase is. I'm all out of popcorn.